Well, good morning, Westside. My name is Youre. I'm one of the pastors here at Westside, and if you are new to us, we are deeply committed to investing in the lives of families here. And today we have a very special guest who is going to encourage you with a message for the entire family. So would you please welcome our friend Doug Fields.
Thanks, man. Well, hi, everybody. Nice to see you. He said I'm a very special guest. I like that. That's great. This is not my first time to be here. I think my third or fourth. I love coming here. This is a world-class church. Those of you who come all the time, you probably don't think that. You think you're just going to my church, but I get the opportunity and privilege to speak all over the place, and this is one of the great churches in the country, great leadership, and I'm thrilled to be here. It's not a perfect church, because you're here, right? So we know that is not true. It's not my type of perfect church, because when Troy leads worship, and Troy and I used to be on the same staff together in Southern California several years ago, is sometimes he'll do songs that require you to clap and sing at the same time. You know what I'm talking about? And that's not my perfect church, because I can't clap and sing at the same time. And there's some of you in here that could be in my club, all right? There's not very many of you, mostly guys, occasionally women. Raise your hand if you cannot clap and sing at the same time. You have to choose one. Okay, yeah, I see a female there. Yeah, just leave us alone, all right? We try. We actually come into it with a spirit of worship. We start singing and then clapping, and we got to choose one, and we're not sure what to look at. So it is great. I have no musical ability at all. Backstage, they were talking about the music after the first service, and I felt like I was back in seminary, and we were talking about Greek and Hebrew, because I didn't get any of it at all. But I actually want to be a singer. I have like singer envy. But I don't want to be the lead singer. I actually want to be the backup singer. Like most people want to be Bono, I want to be Bono's backup singer. Any Kiss fans from the 70s? Any Kiss fans? Yeah, I want to rock and roll all night, party every day, which was a 16th century hymn. No, just kidding. You see, I don't want to be the main Kiss characters. I want to be backup as long as I could wear my face paint. All right? Now you're thinking, where is this dude going and why did we invite him? But I'm getting to it, all right? Because I want to ask you a question about a backup singer. What is the role of a backup singer? Talk to me. Help me out. Support. Yeah, to make the lead singer sound better, right? You're much smarter than the other services so far. This is where maybe with a little more sleep, you become more intelligent. Because, The backup singer's job is to make the lead singer sound better. And here's what I'm doing. I am on a crusade. The reason I came out from California to be here with you, I'm doing an intentional parenting conference tonight at 6:30. The Chiefs will have already beaten our Raiders, so come out here at 6:30. That's great. I love it. That's the most enthusiasm I've heard all day from this church, is that I mentioned the Chiefs. I should have done that earlier. Yeah, so the game will be over by 6:30. Come on out here. If you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, if you're a teacher, a coach, a mentor, for an hour and a half, 6:30 to 8, there's childcare. It is going to feel like it was a half hour. I'm going to help you with parenting, but that's not why I'm here today. I'm on a crusade today because I'm trying to get people of faith to become backup singers to the most important duet in the world. And that duet is marriage. See, in our culture, every marriage needs backup singers so that marriage will perform better, that marriage will sound better, that marriage will be better. Because if you change a marriage, you change a church. If you change a church, you change a community. If you change a community, you can actually change culture. And so when I get the opportunity to be with people of faith, I try to get people of faith to become backup singers to marriage. Now, some people get all cocky and defensive and like, why don't you just teach the Bible? And if people learn the Bible, they'll have better marriages. Okay, churchy churchmeyer, that's not true, all right? Just think about this for a second. If you're struggling in your marriage, when you wake up in the morning and you're struggling in your marriage, you don't wake up like, Hello, Jesus. You're waiting over here, rise and shine and give God the glory. And here's tea and crumpets. And, when you're not happy in your marriage, it impacts everything. When you're not happy in your marriage, it impacts your parenting. Moms, you can't teach little Billy about grace when you don't know how to give grace to little Billy's dad. Dads, you can't teach your daughters about forgiveness when you're holding grudges with your wife. See, at its core, helping marriages is really a discipleship issue, because when the male-female marriage relationship isn't working, not much else is working. Now, I may be a visitor here, but there's something I know about you. Okay? There are some marriages here that are hurting. There's some marriages in here that are struggling, that are wounded, and even the talk of marriage makes the pain sting all that much more. And I'm sorry for that in this moment. There are some marriages here that are actually really good. Some really good marriages. And they haven't always been good, but you've actually learned some things along the way that could help the marriages that you're sitting next to. That you have some of the pain that is sitting in your rows, the answer to that pain is actually sitting next to you. And what I'm trying to get people of faith to do is to become a backup singer to help support and encourage other marriages. Okay? Now, let's go back to this backup singer illustration for just a minute. You can actually be a backup singer and help marriages even if you're not married. Single people. Now, I realize there's a lot of singles in here. I can tell some younger people in here, and you're thinking, oh, great, a message on marriage. Why did I come today? I'd rather, be with a gaggle of 5-year-olds at Chuck E. Cheese, hopped up on crack cocaine than, be here today. And I get that, but singles, don't check out. Don't check out. Listen today, because statistics are real good that 90% of you will get married, all right? So don't check out. And married people, don't check out, because statistics are good that marriage is going to struggle or won't last. So what am I asking you to sing? I'm asking you to sing a few songs. Here's the first song. Okay, in your notes, there's an open space in there. You might want to write some of these down. The first song I want you to sing is that marriage needs to be honored by all. This is something very simple that all of us can sing. You can begin to speak highly about marriage. Why? Because there are just too many negative messages being spoken about marriage, even in the church. At my church in Southern California, I was sitting having coffee. We have a little coffee shop in the lobby of our church. And I was having coffee with a friend, and I listened to these two ladies behind them eavesdropping on their conversation, and they were talking about marriage. And one lady says, oh, I know, you've been through so much this last year, and he will never change. Now, I'm not a violent person, okay? But I wanted to stab her in the neck with my fork, all right? Because if you are a person of faith, you cannot believe that. You can't believe that he won't change, because we actually believe that Jesus died and rose from the dead to prove that he was God, right? We believe that, so therefore we believe that Jesus can actually breathe new life into dead people. That we actually believe that an idiotic, selfish husband can be transformed. We actually believe a nagging wife, a constant drip of a nagging wife, can be transformed. That's right. Or do we believe that? The Chiefs are playing today. Yeah, okay, now let me keep that same enthusiasm. Do we believe that? Yeah, all right, good night. In the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, the author ends the writing of this book in the 13th chapter by just kind of throwing the whole kitchen sink in there. Like, here's what you have to know. He ends the chapter there. In chapter 13 of Hebrews, verse 4, it says this: marriage should be honored by all. That's what I'm saying. I just stole it. And I'm asking you to say, I just stole it right from the Bible. Pretty much everything I say, I just steal right from the Bible, all right? Because here's what he's saying. He's lumping all the biggies in there. If you were to read the whole chapter of Hebrews 13, he's saying, love one another, be hospitable, care for those who are suffering, follow God's teaching, and honor marriage. Lift it up. Lift it up as God's design. Become a marriage advocate. Promote it as a valuable and beautiful thing. Look to the screen. Here's the definition I would give of the word honor. Honor means to esteem it as highly valuable. Some of you in here, younger people, you millennials, you don't have a good view of marriage. A lot of millennials have a negative view of marriage because of what they've seen, what they've experienced with their parents, what they've observed. And I think it's sad because I think marriage is God's gift and it can be great. And singles need to hear the message that God sees marriage as good. Marriage is God's idea. Sex, now some of you are awake. Sex is God's invention, all right? It wasn't created by some caveman in the Middle Ages named Bob. Okay, God created sex. God created marriage, and it's good. Where I am in Southern California, I talk to a lot of single guys, and I try to get guys to be men. Because a lot of guys are not men, they're boys. And they don't ask out women verbally, they text or Facebook. And I try to explain, there's a generation, some of you are in that generation that's a little older than me, that when you saw a girl that you thought was pretty or you liked, you just went up and asked her out. It was no big deal. Why? Because you fought in world wars, right? You could, there's nothing that you are afraid of, right? I've had veterans say, yeah, I lived in a jungle for 2 weeks with a rock in my chest hair. I made a hammock. I can ask. I tell all my kids are in their 20s. All my kids are millennials. And I say, you guys are the bike helmet generation. Like, you don't really fully know what pain is. The most pain you've ever been in is, going on vacation without the internet for an hour, or something like that. Okay, how many of you grew up and did not wear a bike helmet? Okay, these are the real Americans right here, all right? And you younger people, when we fell off our bikes, we suffered brain trauma, all right? And then we'd go into the house crying, and our dad would say what? Suck it up, shake it off, rub some dirt on it, whatever. Get out of the way of the television, it was that type of thing. I'd like to, Dad, but my bone is sticking out. I can't just shake that off, okay? So what I'm saying is that if we become advocates of marriage, if we let the younger generation know that marriage is designed to be good and beautiful and healthy and right, that you date and you fall in love and you honor that relationship with marriage. Why is this a big deal? Because people aren't getting married anymore. And actually, the average age is increasing. I write a lot of books on marriage and parenting and do research on it. And the average age of marriage 10 years ago, just 10 years ago, was 22 years old. The average age today, 28. 28. Why? Because here's what younger people are saying. It's like, I just, I don't really, I'm going to wait till I'm an adult. Okay, well, I understand, those of you who are younger, I understand that there is confusion. Like, when are you an adult in today's culture? According to Bear Aspirin, you're no longer a child when you're age what? 12, right? And then you can drive at age 16, and you can vote. And who doesn't want to vote in this year's election, right? You can vote at age what? 18. You can buy alcohol at age 21. You can rent a car at 25. Now, I flew out on United Airlines. According to United Airlines, you're no longer a child at the age of 2. All right? So somewhere between 2 and 25, you are an adult, all right, according to our culture. But then they say, I'm not an adult until I'm financially independent. Okay? At which point, none of us in here are adults, okay? So whether you're married or not, you can become an advocate for marriage by promoting it as good and honoring it as God's creation. Now, let's pivot this to you, to those of you who are married. I'm not just asking you to sing back up to other people's marriage to honor marriage. I'm asking you, those of you who are married, to honor your own marriage. How do you honor your own marriage? Well, it's interesting. I recently read an article where the researchers from the University of Georgia published this study in an academic journal on human relationships. It says this: after interviewing married couples on relationship satisfaction, covering everything from communication habits to finances, they found that the most consistent, significant predictor of happy marriages was whether one's spouse expressed gratitude. What distinguishes the marriages that last from those that don't last is not how often they argue, but how they treat each other on a daily basis. The study goes on to show the power of the simple words, "thank you," and suggests it as a small, practical way couples can strengthen their marriage. You see, everybody in the marriage space, they're always looking for what's the next big thing that's going to help marriage. Thank you. Thank you. It's expressing how do you honor the marriage that you're in? You express gratitude to the person that you're married to. That's how you honor your spouse. You honor your spouse by expressing gratitude. Now, I'm in a small group with a bunch of men, and I brought this to them. And they're like, well, one guy says, he goes, I honor my wife on her birthday, and I never miss a Valentine's Day, and I don't forget our anniversary. I'm like, way to go, Spanky. Okay, you're only missing 362 other days of the year. Okay? So, as a backup singer, we honor all marriage. In your marriage, you honor your spouse with gratitude. Okay? Second song I want you to sing is that marriage needs to be enjoyed. Marriage needs to be enjoyed. God didn't give you your spouse to, beat you down and drain the life out of you. There's something about your spouse. There's really a combo that in marriage, your marriage can make you holy. Okay, there's a sanctification process there of becoming more like Jesus as a result of marriage, where lives are rubbing against one another and you're figuring out, how do I live life and love this person sacrificially? Yes, you can move towards holiness, but you can also move towards happiness. That marriage doesn't have to be one or the other. Marriage can be both. That you can actually enjoy your marriage. In the Old Testament, there's a book called Ecclesiastes. And Ecclesiastes gives us some wisdom and some coaching on how to avoid a meaningless life and to take advantage of living. In Ecclesiastes chapter 9, it says this: "Go eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for it is now that God favors what you do." Read these next 5 words with me. "Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun." Now, meaningless, okay, you are the sharpest crowd. The other crowds did not laugh at that, and I think that's funny. You got it, all right? Meaningless in the Hebrew is actually translated the word fleeting, like moving by quickly. So what it's saying is, enjoy life with your wife whom you love, because life is going by so quickly. Like, take advantage of the moment. I tell guys, you don't have to choose between having a life and having a wife. You can have both at the same time. Ladies, you can have a life and you can have a husband. You can enjoy your marriage. Life is not, you're given that person to go through the grind of life with, not to grind you down. All right, you can enjoy marriage. I love being married. Kathy and I have been married for 32 years. She's my favorite person in the world. I'm in her top 7, which I'm very excited about, okay? A lot of times she travels with me, but when I said I was going to Kansas City, for some reason this didn't make her list. But she said, well, and I didn't know you were going to put their picture on the cover, so I brought a picture of Kathy. This is my wife of 32 years. Gwen, she did say to say hi to you. She did. I am the president of a organization called Married Out of My League, okay? Troy, you could be vice president, all right? Yeah, absolutely. And you might be wrestling for president. Okay, but guys, just curious, men, how many of you married out of your league? Let me see. Okay. I'm going to need to come back because some of you guys... Gentlemen, if you didn't just raise your hand right now, you're an idiot, okay? I am sorry. Like that was such a soft toss for you, okay? One dude over here got it because your hand. Who was the one whose hand shot straight up? Yeah, that guy, man. You got it. You need to disciple these people, okay? Some guys were like, I don't know. I've never really thought about it, you know. Now, so marriage is to be enjoyed. Let me give you the quickest way to enjoy your marriage. Here's the quickest way. Some of you won't like it. The quickest way to enjoy your marriage is to date your spouse. It's the quickest way to enjoy your marriage is to date your spouse. To do what you did when you were falling in love with him or her. See, what you did before you got married is you chased one another. You flirted with one another. You courted one another. You enjoyed one another. And then you stood before family and friends and you said, I do. And then you said, I don't do that anymore. Right? And what happens in marriage is this. There's something called a drift. And when you stop dating, you stop chasing each other, you stop courting each other, you actually begin to drift. And maybe it's only 1% drift, but 1% drift over a long period of time becomes a great distance. And some of you are in a marriage where you've drifted. And all marriage experts will say that marriage drift is normal, but you have to course correct. You have to course correct to get back on track. And I'm saying the fastest way to enjoy your marriage is to date one another. And I realize everybody's got excuses, what time and, kids and, all that kind of stuff. You can't make more time. You just have to take time. If you have kids, the babysitters, or if you can't afford babysitters, you date at home when they're asleep. If they don't go to sleep, duct tape, whatever it is, all right? That you've got to date. Because here's the new normal. And it's really no surprise that millennials look at this and go, why would I want that? Because they see people who've been married. You watch this at lunch today. Couples are going to be sitting in a restaurant. They're just sitting there. Sometimes they're down on their phone. It's like they're enduring one another. They listen to each other chew. Okay? What was once romance has now become this roommate situation that you can course correct. You can get back on track. You can enjoy with dating on a weekly basis. Don't talk about calendar. Don't talk about finances. Don't talk about kids. You just go out and you enjoy one another. 32 years ago, when Kathy and I were doing our premarital counseling, the premarital counselor told me two things that I remember. He said, never stop dating. And he said, sex starts in the morning. And as a 21-year-old, I was like, awesome. That is great that it starts in the morning. I've heard about noon stuff. And into the evening, this is going to be fabulous. And then what he went on to explain was that, no, it starts in the morning by the way you treat one another, which wasn't as good news. But he did say, don't stop dating. And for 32 years, Kathy and I have taken that advice. We've missed a couple weeks here and there, but we have a date every single week. Now, what he did 32 years ago, he just said what his gut said. He just thought this is good wisdom, this is common sense. Fast forward to 2016, where, just Google this, date night initiatives. They're both in the secular space and they're in the Christian space. There is a lot of now science on relationships. And the National Marriage Project out of the University of Virginia gives 5 empirical research data points on why dating strengthens a marriage. Dating keeps lines of communication open. Dating allows couples to shatter routines and get out of the ruts. Dating models commitment to your children. Dating relieves stress and that it gives you something to look forward to. And 5th, dating rediscovers passion and sparks sexual intimacy. See, without an intentional date time, what happens is the drift appears. And drifting is very dangerous to a marriage, and it needs to course correct. And I've been on this crusade for a while, and I've had marriages said, we've been married 40 years and we haven't dated, and we just started dating, we've rediscovered our marriage. You want to enjoy your marriage? The fastest way to enjoy your marriage is to date. And then when you do enjoy your marriage, it's much easier to honor your marriage. The 3rd song I want you to sing as backup singers is that marriage needs to be prioritized. It needs to be prioritized. And some of you in here are not going to like this because I'm going to go after your parenting. And that's okay because I'm jumping on a plane tomorrow anyway, so you cannot like me. But here's the problem. For some of you, you've put your parenting above your marriage. So you're not prioritizing your marriage, you're prioritizing your parenting. And you say, well, Doug, that's just your opinion. No, it's not. I stole it from the Bible. Look at Genesis chapter 2. Going back to the beginning of marriage, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is what? United to his wife, and they become one flesh. United is another word for intercourse. The two become one. You have become one with your spouse. In God's eyes, you and your spouse are one. You're not one with your child because there's going to be a day, bye-bye, when the child leaves. And that is called empty nesting. And I love empty nesting, all right? Now, I love parenting. Don't get me wrong. I love parenting. I love writing about parenting tonight. Like I said, 6:30 to 8, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun. You're going to learn a lot. I'm going to help your parenting. But there's going to be a day where you bye-bye, okay, because they become out. They come out. Now, one of the reasons kids are not leaving the house or getting married later is because of helicopter parents that have prioritized parenting over their marriage, and they've put their kids before. Now the kids don't want to leave. And the parents don't want the kids to leave. Because if the kids leave, there won't be anything left. So now, there's a phenomenon in our country called the graying of divorce. Gray, like gray hair. The graying of divorce. 25 years ago, divorce over the age of 50 was 1 in 10. 1 in 10. Today, it's 1 in 3.4. Because we have put so much energy into being these overbearing priority parents that our whole identity is our kids, that once the kids become empty, once the parents become empty nesters, there's no foundation. So those of you that have littles, you plan for a day that you're going to be empty nesters. And so you prioritize your marriage now. And when I talk about this, some people get defensive. Well, maybe you don't like your kids as much as we like ours. Well, maybe you're wrong, okay? You can't prove that, okay? And secondly, if you do love your kids so much, can I tell you that the greatest gift that you can give your kids is a good marriage? By far, the greatest gift you can give them is the security of a good marriage, the modeling of a good marriage, how a person is to be treated in a marriage, and how one is supposed to treat others in a marriage. And in doing all of that, you're preparing for those empty nest years. And our youngest is 21 through 28. We've been empty nesters for 3 years, and it's fabulous. Okay, it's enjoyable. But we were intentional prepared. And people who aren't empty nesters always say, what do you just like run around the house naked all the time? Which is, I don't know why people go there. Because I didn't need to become an empty nester in order to do that, all right? did that when they were little, and then they wouldn't bring their friends over. So it's a whole strategy, all right? And your marriage, mom and dad, there is too much that hangs in the balance of this. The Journal for the Scientific Study of Religion says this: children of divorced Christian parents are more than twice as likely to leave the church. 2 weeks ago, September 27th, headline of the Washington Post, how decades of divorce help erode faith. 60% of kids that grew up in a church that come from divorced parents walk away from the church and their faith. Why? Well, I think maybe because mom and dad promoted God's love, and yet God's love wasn't strong enough to keep them together, and the hypocrisy was too great. Why do we care about marriages winning? Because it's discipleship. It's helping people grow and develop, and there's too much at stake, not only for them, that marriage, but for the next generation. So what am I asking you to do? I'm asking you to be a backup singer. I'm asking you to honor marriage in your words and your actions. I'm asking you to enjoy marriage and promote it and to prioritize it. I'm asking you in your own marriage to honor it by spending time expressing gratitude daily. And I'm asking you in your own marriage to enjoy it and date weekly. Now, Troy, if I was to ask you as vice president of my Married Out of My League club, is your marriage to Gwen worth 1% of your time? A whole lot more, but let's just live with 1%, okay? Because most guys are not as sharp as you, and they go, yeah. Yeah, 1% works. Okay, so let's just go to 1%, okay? Because now the bar is set real low. Is your marriage worth 1% of your time? Today, there's 1,440 minutes. Okay, 1,440 minutes in today. You can't make any more time than that. I can't make any more time. You can't buy any more time. 1,440 minutes. 1% of your day is 14 minutes, 40 seconds. Let's round it up to 15 minutes. So what I'm asking for is 15 minutes that you would honor your spouse. Phones off, laptop shut, TV, just knee to knee, eye to eye. For some of you, you can't even imagine that. And that's why the drift has happened, to express gratitude to one another. You take that same 1% principle and you look at it over a week's period of time. Okay? 1% of your time of a week. That's 1 hour and 40 minutes. There's your date. 1 hour and 40 minutes. Is your marriage worth 1%? I think it is. I think it's worth a whole lot more. Okay? Honor it, enjoy it, prioritize it. Your marriage wins, your kids win, this church wins, the community wins, the culture changes. And in all of that, God is glorified. If you're married, would you stand up and let me just pray for you? I want to be a backup singer to you right now. Okay, backup singer to you right now. And as you bow your head and close your eyes, let me just tell you this: the power and the presence of Jesus can change a life, can renew a marriage, can restore what is dead, can bring joy in the midst of sorrow. Jesus changes lives and marriages. So God, we love you and we thank you for the creation of marriage. We esteem it as highly valuable. You created it, and we want to be people who cheer others on in their marriage, and we want to do it loud, and we want to do it often. And I pray for each couple standing today that every couple here, they need backup singers. They need prayers from our church family, and everyone standing has a different story, and they have unique needs. But I pray that as they leave today, that they leave with a greater hope because they're part of a faith family that cares for them and is cheering them on. I pray for these couples that you would breathe life into them. May they feel today and understand and see and believe in a very special future for their marriage. We ask this in the name of Jesus. And God's people said, amen. Amen. Thank you.